today, would a third moonshot be a charm? Let's find out. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Black Spring on your Thursday. I hope everybody's doing well out there, and I appreciate you guys so much for coming in. And for those of you that are not quite sure, you're not decided, I appreciate you for considering Black Spring during what I consider a revolutionary time. So I really appreciate you guys for considering Black Spring with Autumn. And as always, I want to thank our loyal patrons, the subscribers, and the friends over on Periscope, as well as our friends over on Twitch. And if you haven't had a chance to take a look at Twitch, you will have an opportunity to do that at any time. So we're up and rolling on Twitch right now. And it looks like I have somebody new in the chat. Thank you so much for coming in. And we'll get to that in just a moment. So before we get started, I just want to give a thanks to our loyal patrons, and I'll be right back. All right. Thank you guys so much once again. And I want to welcome you in. And I want to say hello to Dean475. And Dean475 says that HR40 is call. All right. Not quite sure what you mean. You can, of course, if you care to expound on that, that was my fault. I apologize for that. So HR40 from Dean. So if you want to expound on that, let us know. But I'm going to go ahead and bring us into this Wednesday stream. And just give me 1 second here. I want to thank you guys so much, as always, for taking time to come here and welcome you to Black Spring on your Wednesday. And also, I just wanted to say we are also one day, just FYI, from a second video parented by the New York-based Hip Hop for Public Health launch. And that video from the anthology of community immunity is going to be entitled Are Mocktail Safe and How Do I Know This? So that's actually going to be launched tomorrow. I'm not sure. If you're on the East Coast, then you'll probably be able to get access to it first. Especially if you're in New York, you'll get access to it first. But you can visit their website at any time. Of course, you can do that. So, that entire coalition. And last episode, or one of the last episodes, we learned more about the organization HHPH and its partnerships, of course, between the hip hop artist and the New York health organizations, along with other NGOs. And of course, we have the creme de la creme, if you will, of the elite on the university influence there. So I'm just going to give you just a brief, I guess, a brief abstract on the second video, if you are planning on viewing that or rolling into that. Hello, Rachel Van Ziel. Thank you so much for coming in. And Proverb Nation. It's so nice to see you guys. And I'm so glad you're here, Rachel. I want to say this again. I want to probably make this a part of housekeeping. If you guys can make sure that you, of course, make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I've had some of the community members express that they've either been unsubscribed or yeah. So when you bring those things to my attention, it's helpful because then I can make a note of it, note to self to have you guys to check those subscriptions. In fact, I found that I've been unsubscribed from some other channels, and and I'm not to talk down to anyone, but even the less provocative channels, I found it to be a little bit ironic that I'd be unsubscribed. So just check that along with if you're here, if you could just please take an opportunity to hit that like or unlike button or share or just make sure you're still subscribed because here again that helps us out, helps us work out the AI and nourish it, if you will, or yeah, please nourish our AI where available. I appreciate it. And Neil 100, thank you so much for coming in from over on Periscope. So thank you guys so much. I'm gonna get into the topics of the day. Seems like it's been a lifetime, and I know there's a little bit of randomness to a randomness and asymmetry to my schedule, but I have to say that unfortunately I'm not. I have to keep it like that for now because I don't want to change and flip flop because I'm making some changes and I'll be making some changes throughout the year. So, but I will do my best to be as consistent as possible. Sometimes it's easier for me to do a stream at night, the moonlight streams, and we have good times. We have good times on those streams. So thank you guys so much, as usual. Also, I want to do an infomercial to Twitch, and we'll get started. So before we give a word to Twitch and more housekeeping, and before we start, I just want to tell you what topics of the day include. Of course, I'm going to give you the synopsis on the second video coming out by the HHPH partnership on the mocktails. And also our story today is also going to include, our stories will include the, we have our favorite person, our favorite elite, Mr. Gates, or the Gates of, he's projecting a third moonshot to combat the variants. I guess it's more of a Brazilian variant, or it's getting just ride with me on this, just this once, and the next thing we'll take a look at some of these efforts in the university level to conduct anti-racist audits of library systems. Of course, there's also, we're going to take a look at the 5G, theories, right? We're 5 out of 10, at least give us 5 out of 10 on the theories, and the conspiracy will come from the other mainstream media. So the 5G digital access on social equality. And of course, we'll have one of our stories will come from our friends over at the JBS. And so that's what I mean. I'm riding on that wave. There's one story that I wouldn't mind including, but it has to do with it involves hair. And I don't really talk about my hair because it's not. Let me just say this: it's HBM. It's HBM. No, BHM. Let me get it together. BHM, and for those of you don't know, I'm referring to that as Black History Month, and I'm not advocating for it, but it just seems like we have all these little morsels of things are just kind of popping out everywhere, and the Crown Act comes to mind out of California. And then, of course, the we form has its own way of handling, people dealing with people's hair like mine, that's naturally the opposite of what it is. And I don't know, maybe we'll get into that just a little bit. But then, that could get a little bit, that'll get heavy. But so just if you just ride with me just a little bit in the spirit of in the spirit of isms, in the spirit of randomness, you know, it'll work out. But no gorilla glue for me. I I don't prefer that. I don't prefer those techniques. I'm actually I'm pretty straightforward, but DJ, you're giving me a high five on my hair. Yeah, well, today I'm doing something, you know, uh, simple, but yeah. So yeah, we'll talk about it just a little bit. I want to read a couple of comments before I get into this. And hi, Kathy Latour. Oh, Proverb Nation says yes. I had to. Is that resubscribe? I mean, it's looking like for a second that you're saying yes. I had to end resubscribe. So I don't know. Correct me. I can be reproved on this platform anytime. Anytime. Thank you for that, Proverb Nation. Thank you for resubscribing. And Kathy Latour, it's nice to see you. And Neil 100, I'm not sure. Are you speaking Spanish to me? I'm not sure if that's what you're trying to do or what you meant to do, but I mean, I might translate a little bit of Spanish, but we'll see. And DJ says, hello, how are you, DJ? It's nice to see you. Rachel. Rachel says, Gates can't fix computers. V's, but sure made money off of them. I tell you, Rachel. Can he just master one thing? And that's what I say. Now, see, I'm going to do a slight digression here. I mean, I, for one, am, I think because because I'm a musician, I have an aptitude, for understanding how things work, but I'm more of a master on one instrument. And I don't go around telling people, oh, yeah, I have friends that are proficient. Like if I were if I were in the jazz realm, I'd be a doubler on other instruments, but I don't do that I don't put that out there that I'm a doubler. I'm playing saxophone and I'm playing clarinet. No. I, I've been playing my instrument for several years, and that's my instrument. And that's what I'm proficient in. That's my highest level of competence. That's my domain of competence. And I'm thankful to all of my teachers. Yeah, even the ones from day one. I'm happy for those experiences. I mean, it's ongoing, but I'm not going to say that I'm a professional, like a horse rider or dog trainer or anything. No, I'm not by any stretch. And so yeah, I'm not going to say I play, I proficiently play violin or upright bass. Those are some instruments that are, they're so opposite they're antithetical to the nature of my instrument, which is actually the flute. So I'm not one of those musicians. So I know I'm going off on a tangent there. Hello, Steve Willis. How are you? It's nice to see you. And DJ says that lol gorilla glue gal, not for you. No. I tend to err on the, yeah, I try not to do too much stress. I mean, I'm already, yeah, like I said, we're getting into this hair thing like really heavy right now. I mean, I can tell you guys some things about, the only thing I want to say about that before I get into the stories that are on tap for today is that in the community, they talk about, discriminations and prejudices, but, we tend to beat ourselves up. And I don't know where that comes from. Now, I could tell you a story about when I was a kid, I didn't always like the way my mom did my hair. Most kids don't like the way their mom does their hair. I mean, they don't know. But somebody told me I looked like a bear one time because of the way my hair was. And I wasn't sure how to take it, but I did tell my mom. I said, "You know what? That cashier," she's like, "Oh, you look like a bear." And I'm like, "Okay." Nobody ever told me that before, but it wasn't exactly complimentary, but it made me curious. So, but I would say if I ever have a daughter, she will not get that hairstyle. No matter what the texture is, not that hairstyle, just not. Because I mean, I don't think anybody wants to look like a bear. I mean, okay, so there's the point of awkward and randomness. So you guys are riding with me on this, so I appreciate it. And so I'm going to keep going here. Proverb Nation says typo. Sorry, yes, I had yes. Thank you for that. Thank you for your patience with this platform. And Kathy says, I won't forget the conversation about here for eternity. You're beautiful. Your hair, just like God made you perfect, require room. God's creation. Well, I appreciate it, but you know what? To be honest, I'm going to tell you the truth. Here's a confession, right? I haven't seen my natural hair pattern in several years. Like, I think it's probably been as long. Like, I started playing my instrument when I was like young, and that's probably been the last time I actually saw that pattern. It's very tight. It's very tight, and it responds to heat, it responds to pressure, it responds to manipulation. And it's not. I say, when people say I'm not high maintenance, it's just that this texture of hair it happens to be high maintenance. It really is. And it can be a lot of work. It can be a lot of work no matter which way you go. And it also seems that in society and in beauty norms, we always tend to want the opposite of what we have. We always, I remember, you guys remember like perms and curls back in the 80s and 90s. People that had curly hair, they straight hair wanted to go curly and vice versa. And they did whatever it took to get that, to achieve that texture, achieve that look. And I don't really think it's any different right now, but I think that because there's so many attacks. I think there's in the community. When I say that, I'm saying in the Black community, there tends to be um, a bit of on demand. There's a lot of we tend to attack ourselves, and we tend to attack other people, and it's a vicious cycle. Whether it's I can't say that it's the right thing to do. It's not the right, and you don't mean to do. For me, I wouldn't say something to someone that would make them reflect on their hair or whatever. But I also grew up around that. I grew up around the rituals of going to a hair salon with my mom, or seeing the emphasis that she put on her hair and her looks. So it becomes ingrained in you. And to break away from that, it's a challenge to do. And I'm saying I might break away from this norm at some point. I don't know. But with all that said, I'm going to get away from the hair for just a bit and say hello to Awesome Alice. I love the nails. Mine are not done. I mean, I used to do my nails, but it's kind of like on occasion. I don't do my nails regularly. Like, not, and when I say do my nails, I don't really, other just groom, like just cleanliness groom. I don't really do them, but I think everybody likes to enhance what they have, and it's what it happens, right? And Awesome Alice says, if you like the violin, listen to Lindsay Sterling. She is amazing. Thank you for that recommendation. And Alien Believers, how are you? And Awesome Alice says, at least your mom did your hair. My mom had no style. I always got pigtails like Ingalls girl. Hey, even some people wanted those Ingalls girl. They were trying to emulate and imitate, replicate those pigtails. And you said, so I learned to do my own. It's always the way. It's all the way to my butt, half my height. It's a lot of keep up, I'm sure. I mean, everybody, these hair vices. I mean, what can you say? What I will tell you is, I'm gonna be honest, and see, this is turning into a hairology. We're having hairology right now, and I will get off of it. I will not be on about it anymore in just a second. But it's like I will say that I've noticed that even people with straight hair, they tend to use a flat iron more than even me. Like they tend to use a flat iron, and I'm just thinking, I know that damages hair like so many reps, and the heat itself. I'm just thinking, well, if I call it wash and wear hair, and if I treated my hair like wash and wear hair, it wouldn't be straight. But I've noticed that people, I'm like, your hair is like pretty straight. And then they'll come up to me and say, you know what, my hair is really damaged right now because um I've been straightening it with the heat. And I'm just thinking, well, your hair is pretty straight already. I mean, what can I say? Like a flyaway or something? But I don't know what they're trying to achieve, but I will say that those devices can damage your hair. So with that said, let's not damage our hair anymore on this. But I appreciate you guys for talking about it. And Austin Alice says my worst haircut was by my dad. He gave me a mullet. Wow, it's hard to walk away from this one because you guys are inspiring me right now. But yeah, I think my dad did my hair a couple of times. I think it was because, I like my mom or something wasn't up or she was already gone to work or something. And like, that's just, he did the best he could, but it wasn't, I wouldn't have him do it again. I wouldn't have let my dad do my kids' hair. No, not preferably. No, but there are some dads that do great hair, and they take the time to do it, to learn how to do it. I actually have a friend who does his daughter's hair, and she's got a great head of hair. I mean, it's really healthy and it's quite long. And yeah, I mean, in fact, he's actually teaching her how to do it. So kudos to him. I mean, he's never been on my channel before, but yeah, shout out to the single dads. I mean, I'm totally a big fan. So, and when you do their hair, it's a bonus. So there you go. All right, guys. So I appreciate you guys so much for coming in. And for those of you who've had a chance to hit that like button and nourish our good old AI out there. So what I want to start with is I just want to give you just that brief synopsis on the second video that's coming out of HHP. And for those of you that are not familiar with this, is that we showed a video of the HHPH, which is the Hip Hop Public Health Organization out of New York, who has released their version of literacy and media, put their platform on display in the name of community immunity. And the second video is going to be unleashed tomorrow. I don't know if I have time, and maybe I'll run it. And that video is entitled, Are Mocktails Safe? And how did we know this? And according to this, the answer is, despite the speed of the mocktail development, which has prompted many to question whether a mocktail for the CV-19 is safe and effective. Very strict science. Very strict science. You guys heard that before? Strict science. Regulations and transparency was enforced during the mocktail development and data safety monitoring, even after a CV-19 mocktail is approved. Did you catch that? Even after a CV-19 mocktail is approved. So to me, that brings the question, is it not approved? So it's followed by the FDA, the CDC, healthcare systems, and mocktail developers will continue to monitor the safety and effectiveness of the mocktail for years. So for the last time, I'm going to read that last statement again. Even after a CV-19 mocktail is approved, the FDA, CDC, healthcare systems, and I almost said it, mocktail developers will continue to monitor the safety and effectiveness of the mocktail for years. So I don't know. I'm just saying, but that video is coming out tomorrow. So I'm wondering if they're going to include that kind of verbiage in the, I don't know. You guys, we saw the video, the first video, last week. So, but this is an anthology. There are 3 other videos that will follow the one that's to roll out tomorrow. So, but we also had a chance to look at, of course, the overarching elite, and of course, it's Columbia University, which I refer to as the Frankfurt School Mecca. And their sociology department, to me, has basically shaped much of the the school systems from K through 12, college, you name it. They were the flagship or the bedrock with the Frankfurt schools from the 60s coming in and pretty much shaping those schools. And when I call it the Frankfurt schools, there were about 5 guys. I mean, I can think right off. It's Marcuse, Horkheimer, and quite a few. There's just 3 more, but I don't want to dig into that because if you want to check the check my catalog and you can find out about the Frankfurt schools. Okay, but then they've even coined the guy that the neurologist, Dr. Williams, is the hip hop doc. Are you feeling patronized yet? I don't know. I'm just saying. So I'm going to drop this link once again for you. And if you feel inspired or if you want to play it out on your own, you can play it out tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. So play it out tomorrow, or you might, I don't know, maybe you want to come back here and play it out. You want to ride with me on it tomorrow. We'll see. And that's if I get to do it. We'll see. And really quickly, just a couple of comments here. Awesome Alice says, he said business in the front, party in the back. So I learned to wear hats. Nice. That is so like 1980s, 1990s even maybe. I don't want to bridge. I don't know how to bridge the gap there, but yeah, I think a lot of women wore something like wore hairstyles that was similar to that. It was so similar to that. I'm like, there were a lot of women wearing mullets, and maybe they didn't realize they were mullets. But Awesome Alice says, crazy thing, I went to an AA and they were saying, get your vax. I said, I thought we were supposed to learn, say no to drugs in here. So they even going to AA talking about and we're gonna segue into something else here. And Awesome Alice says, did you see the 8 degrees of whiteness they are pushing in certain schools? Seems like we are in the twilight zone here lately, trying to figure out which episode. Hello, OmniPro George Kitchen. You are most generous. Thank you so much for coming in. It's been a lifetime. OmniPre, not OmniPro. It's Almond Pro, Almond Pre, not I'm making up things. I should really get it together. And it's been a long time. Yes, it has been. And sad world for sure. I agree, alien believers. Okay, and Rachel says the same science, in quote, that refuses to recognize the unborn as a human, but, quote, they value, in quote, life. Smell that. I'm picking up what you're putting down there, Rachel, without a doubt. All right, so I'm going to keep going here. All right, so let's get into this a little bit. Let's move forward here. And so what we're going to do on this one, we're going to go ahead and move into Mr. G. I'm going to start calling him Mr. G. I don't know if that helps the AI, stay off my case. But we're going to move on to Mr. G and his idea of, maybe you need a 3rd moonshot. What we saw OJ last year. He's 1/3. He's 1/3. Right now, he's 1/3 juice and 1 in on the mocktail. So we'll see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us over to Mr. G, and we'll see what he thinks about adding a third to the situation. Hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you guys have had an opportunity to hit the like button where available. And if you're over on Twitch, I really appreciate that as well. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for your patience, guys. I'm going to share the screen with you. All right. The goat, Billy Goat. Right. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is this is coming out of the CBS News, the one with the big eye on you, right? It's not. I'm not. This is. I just want to read it. Sometimes you might get a morsel of morsel of fact out of here somewhere in there. Maybe it's in there somewhere. All right, so the third shot may be needed to combat new CV variants, says Mr. Gates. Mr. G. I messed it up already. All right, so I'm going to read this and yeah, I'm going to read this. Or I could just play it for you. Let's just do this. You take it from him and then, we'll see what else they're adding here. So, all right, here we go. Give me a 1 if you can hear this in the stream.
This is not just another streaming app. This is football, and This is
buffering a little bit.
And a fantastic shot. This is teeing off. Touchdown! And
all right, this is not what I had in mind, but hold on just 1 second here.
This is
welcome and thanks for joining us on CBSNews.com.
So it looks like we're ready
O'Donnell.
right now.
The overwhelming majority of scientists in the world agree there is a looming climate disaster. The rising temperature of the globe has been linked to more.
You know what? Let me change my mind here. This is a little bit longer. I'll go ahead and give you some of the backstory here, and then if we can catch any of it, we will. But we're not going in 32 minutes. We're not going to burn 32 minutes on Mr. Complex right here. We're not going to do that. So I thank you guys. So according to this, a third dose of the CV mocktail may be needed to prevent serious cases of the new variants of the disease. According to Mr. G, said on Tuesday, the billionaire philanthropist's comments come amid the growing concern that the current mocktails are less effective against the South African and Brazilian variants. It feels like this is a movie that we're dealing with. I don't know. Just give it to me straight in the comments. We're available. All right, quote, the discussion now is, do we just need to get a super high coverage of the current mocktail, or do we need a third dose that's just the same? Or do we need a modified mocktail? Gates told the CBS News, Evening News anchor and managing editor Nora O'Donnell. Quote, all 5 of the companies that have U.S. mocktails are looking at making the modification and adding that in so that people who've already had the 2 mocktails might need to get a third, end quote, he said. Quote, I think it's reasonably likely that we will have a tuned mocktail just to make absolutely sure that these variants hit the U.S. As these variants hit the U.S., that they're not escaping from the mocktail protection, end quote. Gates is funding studies in South Africa to determine whether the AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, and Novavax mocktails were as effective against the most contagious variant. Quote, AstraZeneca in particular has a challenge with the variant, and the other 2, Johnson & Johnson and Novavax, are slightly less effective. But still effective enough that we absolutely should get them out as fast as we can while we study this idea of tuning the mocktail, end quote, Gates said. If the CV is not eradicated, he said, additional shots may be necessary in the future. Quote, probably not yearly, but as long as it's out there, we want as many Americans as possible not to be spreading it to each other, end quote, he said. Dr. Scott Gottlieb, the former head of the Food and Drug Administration, told CBS News, quote, Face the Nation, end quote, on February 7th, that he believed the mocktails currently being distributed in the U.S. would offer, quote, reasonable protection, end quote, against the new variants. Even if they are less effective against the new strains, still, he said, it may also be necessary to administer booster shots in the fall. All right. And once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And look who's here. Rachel says, Mr. Rabbit. Hello. Yes, 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 yes. Without a doubt. And Rachel says, oh my, how many variants could there be? Seeing how they taught us the flu mutates every year. Load up on your toxins, people. And Awesome Alice says, here we go. Hi, Joseph. Francis Burton, thank you so much for coming in. He says, I am an atmospheric physicist. I got that, physicist. I really hate how the media insists on calling us client scientists. That's interesting. Tell us how you feel about that, honestly, Joseph Francis Burton. It would be nice to hear that from somebody that's more. Speaking of that, would you consider Mr. G a climate scientist? Tell us what you think. What are his quals in that area? What's his domain of competence in that area? Just let us know. I'm just asking for the people in the back and asking for its BHM, Black History Month. I'm just trying to get my game up, or get my game up on the climate scientist, et cetera, et cetera. Because he's pretty enthusiastic about, everything that's going on right now. He seems to have his hands in all kinds of things right about now. And oops, I meant to get that. All right, so you said Bill Gates is a funding source. Beyond that, his opinion on virology is as worthless as mine. Ooh, I'm tracking. All right, Awesome Alice says, we are in season 2 of Utopia, the British version. Mr. Rabbit, highly active these days. Yes, he is. Okay, and Rachel says the UK version is so more in depth. Look who's here. It's Paralysis. And Awesome Alice says, you're right, Joseph. This is like going to a plumber for mechanic work. The career day in here is serious business. All right. Paralysis says, Bill Gates said, quote, tuning the vaccine. Yeah, tuning. Have you got a tuning fork on you, Paralysis? I mean, I have a tuner in this room, like a digital one, and sometimes I just use my ear and just go with that. But tuning, like tuning fork, what? Yeah, tuning it with what? All right, so you said that Bill Gates said that, quote, tuning the mocktail, end quote. Interesting choice of words. Maybe another hint that these mocktails will change our frequency. Ooh, you want to expound on that? Give us the frequency. Is it A440, 442? What do you think? Yeah, give it to us straight around here. Give us, we're trying to raise our game. We're trying to get our literacy up. We've got HHPH videos. And in fact, I am going to roll that one out tomorrow. Even if I have to roll it out, if I try it on a mobile device or something, there's the Prism device. The Prism app is one that I've been curious about trying, like on the go, because I think you can actually show a video, like a Mobi on the go. You can do that. So that's kind of cool. However, Rachel says, tune up your transhuman and alien believers is not me, never. And Awesome Alice says, when mocktails become like a tune up on a car, woo, like what kind of spark plugs we need. And where are the spark plugs located at? That's what I'm saying. It's almost time for me to take my car in. Or is it? It's not going that many places, so maybe not. I can wait. And Steve Willis says tuning equals tweaking the ingredients. IMO. You guys are so much fun. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Keep it going. Keep it up. Keep that energy in here. I really appreciate it. All right, so we're going to move on. Let me just see what's in. I didn't go through that interview. So I have to take these elite people in small dosages myself. I can't be tuned in too much because it just drives me nuts. Let's see, what do we have here?
Or frequent severe storms. That's why Bill Gates, the co-founder of Microsoft, is now determined to get the world to take revolutionary change.
Yeah, but you know what the thing is? I think this she might be on about something else, but I think he's basically tying everything. Everything's going to be we're going to go from one crisis to another. See, we seem to be on a chain here. We're going to go from the CV to, the crises, right? The climate crisis. So, yeah, he's on it, okay? He's on it. So I'm not going to share that with you because I really can't take that. But we'll do that one another time. So, let's move on. I want to thank everybody so much for coming out today. Some people I haven't seen in a long time. And paralysis by analysis says, have you seen the quote shaking my head productions end quote video talking certain frequencies possibly killing cancer cells? If they can kill cancer, can they kill healthy tissue? Ooh, it's funny you say that. I've not seen that, but I will say this. This may not be directly related at all, but I've heard about light being used to kill things. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm not sure what kind of light I'm referring to, but however, let's just keep going. We're going to keep going. It seems like we're centering a little bit around mocktails these days. Hello, it's Zero to Infinite. It's been a long time. Nice to see you. It's nice to see you guys coming in, and I hope you've had a chance to feed the AI. I don't know. I don't know what kind of diet, but just whatever you can go. You go with the like or the unlike, whatever you want, whatever you want to choose. I'm not sure. Rachel, was that? I want to say could it be ultraviolet? Some form of ultraviolet light? I'm not sure. So I'm going to keep going here, but we're not done. We're not done there. So you guys can keep going there. All right. So that's it. We're going to move on to some incentive for you. I mean, I don't know. Maybe your employer has some incentive for you, or I don't know, maybe the public library has incentive for you, but it looks like we have a culture in which some of these employers are going to offer workers incentives for getting mocktails and getting the brew. So we're going to keep going. All right, so we're going to keep going here. I'll be right back with you guys on the comments. I appreciate it. I played back. I'm digressing just for a second here. The other day, I remember getting stuck, and I was like, "Oh," and I appreciate it. It was like, my gosh, the timing was so off that it was like I was saying, like, I'm not saying that I appreciate the buffering or that I'm stuck, but I was saying, I don't know. But by the time the lag caught up, it seemed like it was funny. It was ironic. But however, we're going to move on to Kroger. I don't know if you frequent Kroger. I like Kroger. I've been to Kroger quite a few times, and I'm sure I've been to some sister stores, if you will, of Kroger. But according to this, the Kroger is offering. This is also coming out of the Eye on You News, CBSNews.com. But Kroger offers $100 to keep to workers who get mocktailed. Okay. All right. So that's what they're. I think it's not. I don't think it stops there. I think they're offering something else as well. All right. So we're going to go on with this one. So what we have right away is, according to this, other supermarket companies and retailers are also offering workers money to get mocktailed against the CV. Aldi, Trader Joe's, and Dollar General are promising employees up to 4 hours of extra pay for getting the shots, while grocery delivery service Instacart is offering $25 to employees who get the shots. Meat processing company JBS is also offering workers $100 to get mocktailed. All right, guys, anything you got on this. This is getting interesting. Okay. Even more lucrative is an offer from 8 hospital system, Houston Methodist, which is giving its 26,000 workers an extra $500 in March, so long as they get the CV-19 mocktail. Although these and other companies are using a carrot rather than stick approach to curtail outbreaks of the virus among their employees, they generally have the right to mandate the workers get mocktailed. That's because employers are entitled and required to ensure a safe workplace in which, quote, an individual shall not pose a direct threat to health or the safety of individuals in the workplace, end quote, according to the Equal Employee Opportunity Commission. Okay, so how's that for you? The cash is going. Yeah, what else would they do? Wave some dollars in front of you, right? Wave some pennies. Yeah, and some people, and the rough thing about it is, people have been affected, and it's enticing. It's enticing to some people. I'm not saying to everybody. I'm not saying that that's a good enough reason for anybody to do anything. But I'm saying that it's possible, and I think that it is, it's attractive. So I'm gonna pull myself out of the freeze there just for a second. If I'm not frozen altogether, there we go. See, I almost said I appreciate it, and then I come right out of freeze mode. So hang on just a second. I'm gonna go into my little avatar here. Okay. All right, so let me just read this here. You guys are killing me. I'm gonna stop sharing that screen for a second. Okay, Awesome Alice says, yep, the master plan of eugenics. All parts of the human connection to get the right population, like yikes, and his new kind of meat. Wow. Yeah, you've probably started to see it in the grocers' freezers or your grocers. You're starting to see these alternatives. Plant-based meat. So if it's plant-based, is it meat? I'm just, why ask the why questions, right? All right. And Paralysis says, yeah, quote, red light therapy, end quote, is being used for healing. Thank you, Paralysis. Yes, and I've heard of that. And Joseph Francis Burton says, my opinion of Mr. G is typical of my opinion of most people. They listen to the media, then claim they, quote, follow the science. There you go. And Awesome Alice says that Israel has a green pass for your mocktail. Now you can go any place as long as you have your green pass. Yes, I remember. And I'll tell you one other place in which we've mentioned before that's merged, or they're partnered with, was it Gavi and MasterCard? I think Gates rolled out the trust stamp not too long ago in one of these countries. I want to say it was India a few months ago, or maybe yeah, something like that. And Zero the Infinite says, my money is on the employees are getting money too for every person that gets it. That's great point. Great point, Zero the Infinite. You're right. You're probably, the cash is, they're printing the cash up these days. So let's see. Rachel says, these companies, shaking my head, eat your, quote, vegetables, end quote, and you can have some, end quote, candy, end quote. Okay, daddy government. There you go. That's it. And Alien says, never that either. Yucky. Okay, so we got that. So what we're going to do is we're going to thank our sponsors really quickly, and we'll be back. And I appreciate you guys so much for all the fun and the conversation at the beginning. I know we might go full circle with that before it's over. So we're going to have a few infomercials and a couple of thanks, and we'll be right back. All right, guys. I really appreciate you guys. And I thank you guys so much for hitting that like button. We're available and helping us feed the AI around here. All right, I'm going to read a few comments before we transition into another segment of our show. And we have Zero the Infinite says, instead of getting freedom papers, people get a freedom card. Wow. Thank you for that, Zero the Infinite. I appreciate it. And Joseph Francis Burton says, money for the shot? Lol, here's an incentive. Let us take the mask off, meet with people, go to work, and live like normal humans again. And Zero the Infinite says, and give up all of that control, Joseph. It's really, I mean, I don't know if people are, I'm going to be honest, I'm starting to think that the mask are really starting to inhibit people's, their perception of on many levels, not just, I know I talked about hypoxia that I think that occurs when people are wearing them. And especially in the car, they're wearing them in the car by themselves and they're driving slow as molasses. And I'm just thinking, you're not going the speed limit. You're barely making the light. And then see, this is the other thing. I'm wondering now, don't knock on wood. At what point is the insurance industry going to start taking advantage of this? Are you going to have to carry an insurance? I mean, I'm the auto insurance industry is what I'm referring to. Are you going to need a different kind of coverage for somebody who's under the influence of a mask or hypoxia that has no consciousness? Their useful consciousness is a way off, but then they smash you in the back, or they just, I'm just saying, it's, it's crazy makers. It's bizarro land without a doubt. And that's why I'm just thinking it's going to be, are you going to be covered when something like that happens? Are they going to even consider that if something like that does happen? So I'm going to keep going. I really appreciate you guys so much for coming in on your Wednesday, and I appreciate you guys for hitting the like button. And so since I've been in and out a little bit, just talking about BHM, I'm just going to say this. Now, I would like, if you guys want to participate in this, I appreciate it, but I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to give you a quote that comes from the late Booker T. Washington. Now I'm going to read this quote and I can share with you where it comes from. There seems to be a btwsociety.org. And according to this is one of the quotes, one of many quotes. Quote, there is a class of colored people who make a business of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardships of the Negro race before the public. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievances because they do not want to lose their jobs. There is a certain class of race problem solvers who don't want the patient to get well, end quote. Does that sound familiar to you guys? Put a 1 in the chat. If you feel like expounding on that, you can do that too. I appreciate you guys for riding with me on this today. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to a story from our friends over at the JBS, in which we're going to talk about, we're in the color code right now. So why not jump over to the universities who are conducting anti-racist audits of their library systems. And we'll get into that just a bit. And once again, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. There you go. There you go. Let me read a few comments here before I take us there. Zero the Infinite says, I think they want to get people sick by having people wear masks. These masks, because of the CDC. The CDC warned against that on their website. Awesome Alice says, I know, but you know how, okay, I'm not sure if I'm, see, that's why I talked about the inter exchanges between people, because I tend to read all the comments. I'm equal opportunity here on Black Spring, and I appreciate you guys. Paralysis says, due to the mask-induced hypoxia, this mandate has become as effective as an effective tool at dumbing down the masses as media or public education. In the words of the old secretary that I used to know, I got to help you to say, makes sense to me. that's 5 out of 10 on the theories, and the conspiracy part. We'll leave that up to the mainstream. All right, so we're going to go over to a story from our friends at the JBS, and just a word from our friends. We'll be right back, guys. This segment of our show is brought to you by our good friends at the John Birch Society. Less government, more responsibility, and with God's help, a better world. The JBS is a constitutional and educational organization that's been around for over 60 years, dedicated to upholding and defending the Constitution and working to preserve our freedoms and liberties in this country. The JBS does not endorse any political party or candidates. Rather, it focuses on the education, training, and development of the American voters. All right, and we're back, and we're going to go to the most wokeness issues in the wokest month of the year. All right, hope you guys are hanging on. And if you haven't had a chance to hit that like button, I really appreciate it. All right, so we're going to go in here. So, you got more of the same things coming out of the institution. And let me just say this. I am not anti higher education. I am not, but I know that it's just been, what can I say? Let me do another cliche. I'm not the author of this, but when you learn better, you tend to think freer. And some people say it's the same as, I'm kind of aligning it with when you learn better, you do better. You don't need the propaganda to do better is what I'm saying. Okay. All right. So here we are. This is the TNA, the New American. And here we have our story from Raven Claball. It says universities to conduct, quote, anti-racist audits, end quote, of their library systems. Okay, I'll give my thoughts on this in just a second. Okay, according to this, University of Delaware and New York's Binghamton University are launching year-long, quote, anti-racism talent management audits, end quote, to evaluate issues of, quote, equality and injustice in the university's library systems, according to a press release from the Ithaca S+R and reported by the Daily Wire. The Ithaca S+R is a consulting firm that conducts inclusion audits and trainings to promote equity, diversity, and inclusion. The press release by the firm states the audit will analyze policies, practices, and outcomes related to recruitment, employment, promotion, and retention patterns in libraries. Quote, across organizations and sectors, systemic racism and resulting inequities have had a disproportionate impact on Black staff members. And given this, the audit will maintain a strong emphasis on organizational culture and climate issues affecting Black employees in particular, in quote, the press release reads. As noted by the Daily Wire, Ithaca S+R makes a living for itself by feasting on strained race relations worsened by its own agenda of focusing on divisive issues. The organization supports and promotes racial reparations and calls on universities, already bastions of leftist thought, to examine how they have allowed, quote, slavery and systemic racism, end quote, to shape and impact their institutions. Quote, Ithaca S+R has an agenda in calling on, quote, accountability and reconciliation, end quote, from universities they believe perpetuate racism, end quote, the Daily Wire writes. Quote, the same universities that they slander are racist. They slander as racist, proceed to hire them to fix their, end quote, racism. Can you fix that? How about we fix hate instead? What do you guys think? For its part, Binghamton University has already acknowledged its, quote, responsibility as representatives of predominantly white institution, PWI, to repair the effects of institutionalized racism and advance anti-racist practices, the school stated in its 2020, quote, anti-racist statement, end quote. In its statement, the university had vowed to conduct an anti-racism audit of its libraries to understand the ways racism permeates, in quote, the organization and, quote, identify actionable reforms, in quote. And while most universities have not pursued, quote, anti-racist audits, in quote, of their libraries just yet, a cursory internet search of, quote, anti-racist universities, in quote, yields quite a large number of results, as university officials are falling over themselves to prove they are among the most what? Ding, 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 quote, woke, in quote. For example, Colgate University website touts itself as, quote, committed to becoming an anti-racist institution, in quote. New York University's official of global inclusion, diversity, and strategic innovation is providing guidance to students and staff to engage in, quote, anti-racism work, education, and dialogue, in quote. University of Dayton officials wrote an open letter to the community outlining the steps it is taking to become, quote, an anti-racist university, end quote. Clearly, there is a pattern. Quote, anti-racist, end quote, is this decade's, quote, green, end quote. Only on steroids, serious steroids. Unfortunately, anti-racism audits are not reserved solely for colleges and universities. The Daily Wire reports a $450,000, quote, anti-racist audit was commissioned for the Montgomery County Public School District in Maryland. Quote, we have heard from our students over time about how social studies is taught and negates a full picture of the context that addresses African American history and many of the contributions made by African Americans, end quote. Montgomery County Public School District posted on its website regarding the audit. Quote, we had students to sit at this table and speak to us about Columbus Day. We also know the impact of racism on mental health and has been deemed a public health crisis. So we need to analyze how we are strategically educating our students around the issue, end quote. The school district states it has developed a team focused on a, quote, long-term plan to transform curriculum and development interconnected and interdisciplinary learning experiences for students, pre-K through 12, that strengthen students' sense of racial, ethnic, and tribal identities, helps students understand and resist systemic or systems of oppression, and empowers students to see themselves as change agents, end quote. That's an interesting phrase there. I'll come back to that. Meanwhile, Ithaca S+R plans to share its wisdom and the progress of the audits during this year's Association of College and Research Libraries, ACRL, conference to be held in April. Descriptions for the programs at the 2021 ACRL conference all seem to have similar keywords: equity, diversity, inclusion, social justice, and you guessed it, anti-racism. Once again, I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So, there you got, I did talk about the wokest month of the year, and what's the change agents, but the UN also thinks that children are the agents of change. So is that similar? Is that a similar, is that the same thing? I don't know. I'm just saying. But and it's funny. I read the quote, the Booker T. Washington quote, but does it seem like that the efforts? Let's go back to that quote just a second here. Let's try to connect a couple of dots where available. Maybe we'll wind up in the same place, maybe not. But if you're picking up what I'm putting down by the end of it, just put a 1 in the stream. So here it is. Comes from the Booker T. Washington Society.org. It says there is a class of colored people who make a business of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardships of the Negro race before the public. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievances because they do not want to lose their jobs. There is a certain class of race problem solvers who don't want the patient to get well. Now, I read that again because it just seems that we have, it's not limited to a class of colored people now. It's not limited. No matter what's Navarro on CNN and what these people on Joy, AM Joy, and all these people, it's not just them. They are using other people. They're using other races of people to keep the patient on the ill. They're using other people. They're using white people. to keep the patient not well. So they've expanded, I think the late Mr. Booker T. Washington was right on. Only they've just gotten better at what they do. That hasn't changed. It's like now everybody can do it. Everybody can have a piece of that action, right? I'm just, if that's too far out there, let me know. Just about anybody can make a living, and what I'm kind of thinking of when I think of it right off, you have mostly wealthy people making a living off of these hardships. And it's like they're recruiting people daily to be a part of it. So you don't have to be a Black person. You don't have to be a colored person to to earn a living off of victimhood and ills of the past, shadows of the past. No, you don't. I mean, the athletes are doing it full scale. These are millionaires. And they're of all, and if you don't conform, you get gut checked. They're gut checking everybody. I tell you, if they gut check, what's his name, Brady, one more time, he seems to be pretty ambivalent. He doesn't seem to be affected by, I don't know. We've talked about that on here. We've talked about there's a class of people here, even on, I think it was Paralysis that talked about, there's a class of people here on the tubes that they seem to be pretty ambivalent as well. They don't, if they kind of handle stuff, depending on the way they're spinning, I don't know, but they're not being affected by, the provocative, topics of the day. They're not getting affected by it. They're not being censored. They're not being canceled. They're not being demonetized. But it's across the board. I don't know. I don't know how you are anointed in this culture of the wokeness culture, but it just seems like Brady just kind of walks. He just kind of strolls through, with an invisible coat, without a mask. At the Super Bowl. All right, I'm going to get it together. I'm like, that was the last event, and I heard a lot of rhetoric behind that, but they haven't crushed him just yet. So, but they were trying hard. I think they tried to pit him against. You can't. Your little, what do you call it? The WP. You can't be proud of anything you've done. You can't have any dignity about your own successes. What do you mean? That's white privilege. You can't do that. Awesome Alice. She says, quote, I must be over the target. I mean, I'm not someone special. Thank you for that, Awesome Alice. I really appreciate it. But yes, I'm just wondering, there's just certain people that are just not really getting touched by the bombshells of wokeness, and the cancel hasn't hit them just yet. I don't know. How do they do that? How do they do that? If you guys know, let me know. Okay, I'm just going to go into this just a little bit from the friends in the chat. Leaf Desi's here. And Zero to Infinite says, where's the ad skip button? Lol, JP. And Rachel says it's Korea, or I won't say the C word. It has a color code system, social system grading. And Leaf Desi says, hi everyone. Has anyone heard of happy hypoxia being from CV? I'm thinking the mask caused it, but I know of a paramedic who says that people are living with 3 days on low saturation levels. That's interesting, Leaf Desi. I haven't heard about that. The consciousness is what when I would rather they forego that, topia with that mask. I would rather they do that behind the wheel. Like, just don't do it. And Awesome Alice sounds like a fruit salad language. It says, I like because I need to hear this better. So let me fix my eyes. Okay, maybe I'm back too far. So let me see here. I'm trying to catch up here, believe it or not. He says, what's the title of the one mocktail article with Bill Gates quote, which you just talked about? I don't know. Let me go in real quick. All right, so the one was third shot may be needed to combat the new CV variants. That's according to Mr. G. So I'll drop it. I'll drop it for you. I'm gonna stop sharing that one. Okay. I'll put it right here. Okay, and Joseph Francis Burton says, I love how racism is now called a public health crisis, trying to ride the coattails of the pandemic response. It's amazing, you know. But there was something really ironic about that last article that I read. It's just so funny how people that are so hell bent on, they think rewriting the past corrects the past, right? Is that what we're doing? But see, to me, I think what's the bigger picture is that they're rewriting history. Is what they're doing, was what they're going to end up doing. In fact, shout out to ABL. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. I'm not advocating or promoting his channel, but I saw an interview that he did yesterday, in which I think there's someone out of the UK, a black woman out of the UK. I don't know the actress's name, but she has been afforded the opportunity to play, the Queen. And I'm just thinking, why would you? I'm just saying, historically, this is not accurate. So I just think these people see an opportunity here to basically rewrite history. And if you say anything about it, because see, I'm going to tell you, I think all the buzz is, it's gonna fizzle out. But by the time it fizzles out, they will have already installed their ideologies. I mean, maybe people aren't making enough noise about it right now, but the noise will continue. But after a while, they'll get their way, and it'll be, what you'll have kids growing up thinking that one of possibly that these people were, the Queen of England happened to be black or something that's bizarre like that. I don't think, they would yell acculturation fraud or something if somebody did that. What if they had I mean, and they might try to snatch this thing down, but like, what if they said the white woman was going to play Aretha Franklin? I mean, how would that go? Would that be okay? I'm just saying. But you don't need to rewrite history to this affirmation culture is really, it's really a pain. I don't know what does it take? You got to normalize everything, even if it's wrong. Normalize everything. Oh, looks like I have a little bit of, looks like I have two people over on, do I have two people over on Twitch? Got the breakdown here. It's very savvy. Very nice. Okay, so I'm sorry for the delay here, but I'm reading comments, believe it or not. You just need affirmations to, how many affirmations do you need? I mean, the affirmations kind of come from with, those are things that you kind of do, on your own, right? But you don't need to legislate affirmations, right? I don't know. I'm just saying, just, call me crazy. And Awesome Alice says, well, hope AI enjoys the show. I hope they have a sense of humor. Thank you so much, Awesome Alice. So let's see. Probably going to wind it up and pack it in just shortly. And for my final act today, appreciate you guys for riding with me on this. We're going to look at the 5G digital access, social equality. Is this what our lives are going to look like? I mean, we had to get all the way to 2020 just to realize they're just going to keep spinning and spinning and spinning the deal. Spending the sustainable development goals. We got to have 10 years of sustainable development goals, training and disruptions in our lives, and you name it. Okay, so we're going to go on to our friends over at the We Forum. All right. Okay, so here we are. So what you see before you is the weforum.org Agenda 2021. So for all of you that want to cry conspiracy, it's openly available for you to see it here. Don't take my word for it. But according to this comes from the Davos Agenda 2021, how 5G can be a force for social equality. All right. So this article is a part of the Davos agenda. So the CV19 has highlighted society's reliance on digital connectivity whilst exposing the access inequalities of developing countries. The tech industry is uniquely positioned to broaden digital access through 5G cloud-based storage solutions, which could significantly lower the cost of devices. The Edison Alliance, a joint initiative between Verizon and the World Economic Forum, aims to prioritize digital inclusion worldwide. The past year has starkly illustrated just how crucial digital connectivity has become in the lives of people across the income spectrum in countries around the world. It wasn't that long ago that high-speed internet access was seen as a, quote, nice to have, end quote, for the affluent and the tech elite. The CV19 has turned it into a must-have for more and more people, a lifeline for socially distant work, school, social connections, and even healthcare consultations. All right, this highly networked lifestyle is not likely to disappear with the arrival of CB mocktails. For starters, we'd be kidding ourselves to assume that this will be the last mass. Look at this, guys. Look at this. We'd be kidding ourselves to assume this will be the last mass shelter-in-place event of our lifetimes. Climate change is loading the dice in favor of extreme weather events and disease-spreading pathogens, and of which could, depending on circumstances, compel us to once again hunker down with our keyboards and screens. But even without such scenarios, it seems probable that working from home, distance learning, and the other arrangements we have all improvised for the pandemic will forever alter the way we conduct some of the basic functions of life. We'd been anticipating the arrival of a more digitized society. The CV19 has simply sped up the timetable. There's the fact that all of this coincides with the emergence of the 5G wireless networks and mass access to cloud storage and computing. This blend of extremely fast connectivity, enormous computing power, and essentially infinite storage capacity, all literally in the palm of one's hand, marks a watershed moment in humanity's relationship to its own technology. All right. So, I just want to stop really quick. I have something I've been wanting to play. I may have played it before, but I think I've played it out of context. Did you guys hear all of that? That was to me I consider that a little bit of the thesis, if you will, just a little bit, not, just a little bit. So, they're talking about, they're kind of warming you up, anticipate that some other thing is going to come along and you're going to need to hunker down. And with that said, I'm going to segue into something that I've wanted to share for some time. So brace yourselves. I'm going to share this with you right now. Now, if you're sitting down, driving along, I will tell you what you're about to see. This is Mr. Schwab himself of the We Forum, the founder of We Forum, as well as you will see Mr. G featured in this clip. I'll be right back with you.
The third greatest concern for companies surveyed is the increase of cyber attacks. We all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
Most of the work we're going to do to be ready for pandemic 2, I call this pandemic 1, most of the work we'll do to be ready for that are also the things we need to do to minimize the threat of bioterrorism. So we we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time. So we, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
All right. Now, how's that killing you? Does that sound like what is it, Ozzy and Harriet right there? I mean, to me, they just seem like they've got an inside track on what's going on. They've got a drop on all of these crises. They're talking cyber attacks. They're talking CV. They're blending it all together. So, without further ado, I'll go back to that article. I'll finish it out. But that was Mr. Schwab that was given the first piece of that. First piece of that came from Schwab himself. And the second part came from your favorite Mr. G and Miss G. So I'll be right back, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. So I'm going to give you guys some scale here on this. And this is going to be our last piece of the day. All right. So there you go. What we have here also is we're going to talk about the this highly networked lifestyle is not likely to disappear with the arrival of the CV. Okay. So I'm going to jump down here. It talks about the tech industry. So it's interesting. I brought you that. And the tech industry is the next piece of this. The tech industry has a unique role to play. It should also be a watershed in tech's relationship to humanity. We in the tech industry need to face the fact that our sector is commonly associated, often unfairly, but perhaps more fairly than we'd like to tell ourselves, with widening gaps in our societies, gaps between rich and poor, between affluent nations and the so-called, quote, developing world, end quote, between urban and rural, between those with advanced or elite educational degrees and those without, between the tech sector itself and the rest of the economy. If there were ever a moment for tech to change this narrative and bend the arc of its own history, this is it. Some might expect tech to be the last place to look for meaningful advances in social equality, but the arrival of 5G and related technologies offers a once-in-a-generation opportunity for precisely such advances from precisely such a place. We need to start from the principle that our industry is uniquely positioned to promise people the tools they need to engage with their own communities, gain access to broader perspectives, and, in pop psych lingo, to become their best selves. We need to embrace our role in making this promise as equitable, open, and inclusive as possible. And we need to reflect that commitment in everything we do. So they want to start with increase the digital access to reduce inequalities. The good news is that we now have a reasonable foundation for such dreams of digital inclusivity. Within just the last decade and a half, the proportion of the world's population with internet access has grown substantially from about 17% to over 50%, according to the United Nations and the International Telecommunications Union. However, that heartening statistic conceals wide variances and lingering inequalities. The proportion of people with internet access is over 80% in Europe, but less than 30% in Africa. In addition, there are marked gender imbalances in access within many countries. Reducing such imbalances, both among and within nations, must be a top priority for our industry. We have all kinds of incentives, some admittingly rather self-serving, some less obvious, so to make this happen. There's a growing global consensus for such action. On the 28th of January this year, the World Economic Forum announced the Edison Alliance, a first-of-its-kind initiative to foster digital access and inclusivity worldwide. Headed by Verizon Chairman and CEO Hans Vestberg, this public-private collaboration is calling attention to the vital role that connectivity can play in achieving the Sustainability Development Goals. Barriers to exclusive tech are being dismantled. Okay, so here we go. One great ally in this effort will be the shifting economics of technological access. To put it bluntly, tech is getting cheaper even as it's becoming more powerful. That's an amazing combination, and here's just one example of how it works. One of the tech breakthroughs that 5G makes possible is something called mobile edge computing, or MEC. In essence, MEC is about the provision of cloud storage capacity at the edge of the network itself. With that much storage available on the network, devices like laptops and tablets and phones can be smaller and cheaper. After all, they no longer have to hold much storage capacity since the network now takes care of that. Welcome to the age of the hyper-powered, quote, thin client, end quote, the low-cost, bare-bones device that packs a computational prowess formerly available only on room-sized mainframes. By taking the computing and heavy work out of the device and putting it at the edge of the network, we can transform virtual reality headsets from $1,500 luxury toys to $100 mass market portals to new realms of education, entertainment, and exploration. The potential implications of this shift are very extraordinary. One of our company's top philanthropic priorities is Verizon's innovative learning, which seeks to provide high-speed network technologies to under-resourced school districts throughout the United States. The arrival of MEC vastly expands the potential of such an effort. It is now feasible to imagine low-income districts providing students and their families access to a level of computer power that a few years ago would have been available only to major research universities with multi-billion-dollar endowments. But such a radical democratization of tech access won't happen all by itself. We in the tech industry must be quite intentional about maximizing the barrier smashing, inequality busting potential of our products and services. To many, our sector has become virtually synonymous with rising levels of social and economic disparities. We now have an extraordinary opportunity to create a new story, both for ourselves and for the world around us. History and our own customers will judge us by our choices. I'm going to put that one out there for you guys. So I don't know what you guys, what type of schooling that you guys are participating in, but as you can see, We Forum has plans for you. All right, I really appreciate it, as always. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple comments here. So everything is about equality and I mean, everything's about, making everybody have access to internet, right? I mean, but to me, they don't talk about some of the geographic challenges in some of these places. Like I would imagine that would be some of the issue. But they also, I think the elite would know why some of these areas have not moved forward or developed. What's in it for them? If they solve everybody's problem, to me, it kind of goes back to the same thing we were talking about earlier with the not wanting the patient to get well, like, because if you get too well and too educated, right, you don't need them, right? You don't really need them. So you got to keep the need going. You got to keep it going. And it has to be lucrative for them. They don't care how disruptive it is to your life, your lifestyle, your family, or your health, but they've got to achieve whatever they're trying to achieve globally. So I'm back pretty far. Okay, I'm going to start here with Zero the Infinite, who says, things like this used to keep the division going, just like the black movies with the black main character defends himself in the right against the police and ends up being shot the end to keep. All right, so I'm going to read some more of that. It's just the victim mentality going with movies like Queen and Slim. That was a terrible movie where the main characters could have lived, but they wanted to keep black in a victim mindset in America. Skin, page 2. Yeah, that's good stuff. Zero the Infinite. He says, which could have been a movie to start a real conversation between black people and the police, but threw that opportunity away to cause division once again. And Zero to Infinite says also the Black directors claim that they are honoring the victims by having Black people killed, usually a Black male character. Shaking my head. Ooh, you're getting into some good stuff. Thank you. All right, so and I'm gonna keep going here, but yes, you guys are keeping it going around here. So I want to read some comments on Mr. Rabbit from Awesome Alice. She says, Mr. Rabbit seemed drunk. Notice as he talks, he looks away, body language of a liar. There you go. So like someone has been giving inside information, wonder who is the source to his madness. Stick a sock in it, gentlemen. Leap Desi says we need to take Yeshua off the cross and the slave off the plantation and the two-faced king off of his throne. All right. And Zero the Infinite says, yeah, Alice, a Black man, it really infuriates me because it offers no real solutions. And when they obviously throw it away for the almighty dollar. All right. So I'm going to read this comment from Joseph Francis Burton, who says, climate change will create more disasters and pandemics. We cannot have lockdowns without a cyber infrastructure. That infrastructure is vulnerable to attack. See how it is all tied together. Yes. You can't have one without the other. Okay, so Awesome Alice has some tips for us. Learn body language. It tells on all these people in the media. Closed arms is discomfort, and no look at you while speaking is lying, and also constantly moving means misleading, which can be known as lying. I heard that from a teacher of mine like several years ago, like when I was a kid in school. And he would basically read a student that was, that had already been in trouble or something. He'd talk about that body language. And yeah, just like you're approaching this the wrong way, like trying to give him some redirection, but he didn't get it. Say it's the way you're talking to people with your body language. You're talking to people, you're communicating with your body language. All right, so I did provide that link in the stream for you guys. And like I said, of course, there's always more where that came from. So these theories are not conjured out of thin air. They're on public display. There's meetings. In fact, I've told you guys can go to Davos too. Davos 2022. If you want. I mean, I think they get a little bit exclusive with the actual with the code. Even if you did a virtual one, you could do a virtual one. And I think there's a time that they put it out and then they start pulling it back. So if you want to visit any of these, if you want to be around these people on their elitisms, then you could do it too. I don't know how much it cost, but this year I don't think they had it, and they didn't have it in Switzerland this year. I think they went to the South Pacific, I think, this year, or maybe I'm wrong. But I know it wasn't Switzerland, not the regular place. Zero the Infinite says, excuse the typos, YouTube had crashed, losing what I had originally typed. Yeah, no problem. All right, guys, I thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you guys so much for tuning in to the part of for playing along with the BHM, and because there's another segment, I don't want to go into it, but I talked about the Crown Act, in which California were first. California's first in, you can't discriminate against Black people for wanting to wear their hair naturally. But then my question is, when was that ever legal? Was it ever legal to discriminate against anyone for their choice of hairstyle? But could you bring that same argument to the table? Could you bring that same argument to the table on something else? Like what you're required to wear to work, or what's as a part of your uniform. Can you say that people are discriminating against you because some part of your uniform is not comfortable, or some standard of the uniform is not comfortable. Are you people with tattoos? Are you going to make? Is there going to be an act? Who is it, New York, or who's going to pass the act on that first? Like I said, you got these woke states, and then California, New York would be right up there, right up there. So I'm just like, I would just say, stay out of my hair is what I would say. Stay out of my hair, California. Stay out of my hair, New York. You don't know what you're talking about. You might have some, we all have sensibilities, but stay out of this. Stay out of this. And, my head, my choice, my reflection, my affirmations. I don't need you to handle that for me. I don't need you to do that. And I don't know. I don't know what people are, what they're trying to, what they're dealing with. But it would be nice if they would figure it out, if they would work out your issues and stop bringing other people, stop putting your insecurities and your guilt on other people, because that's all you're doing at the end of the day. Kimon Reed, Unstoppable. Nice to see you. Kimon Reed says, hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. And Joseph Francis Burton says, there were lots of hair and clothing styles I was not allowed to have when I was in public school, but that was in the 1970s, so I guess that does not count. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? But there was a time, what was it, the 70s, that people wore, there was a time you could see people wearing afros and things. How much more natural can you get than wearing an afro that's just shaped? Or how much more? That's natural. That's as natural as you can get. But I don't know that anybody that was hired, I don't know of anybody that was hired at the time that had, oh, well, you're not going to work here. But eventually, in the community, and when I say that, I'm talking about in the Black community, eventually, Black women started to put pressure on themselves. Like, we came up with the standards that we have. I think much of that standard came from somebody else's experience. So I don't know. That's why I try to go easy with the word culture, because I think a lot of culture comes from toxic emotions lead to toxic behaviors and toxic cultures. The way we carry on about hair, the amount of emphasis that's put on hair, like from a young child, you've even seen it in sports. I don't know if you guys can go back not too long ago. It was Gabby Douglas. Gabby Douglas took all kinds of hits for her hair. She's winning gold medals, but her hair's not making the team. It was the sickest thing. I'm just thinking, well, for one, your hair's not going to be exactly great if you're doing a sport. You're not going to have, your hair's not going to be in place. I figure if you're doing what you need to do, it's not going to be in place. It's going to be out of place. And who would she be if she's up there flipping around or twirling around and she's worried about her ponytail, getting out of place, or her bangs, her bangs flew up 2 inches on the, uneven bars. What is her job? What's her priorities? It was just wrong. I'm going to say that. I don't use that very often, but it was just wrong to talk about her. And they did it. The media got into it. And, yeah, I mean, she's a world-class athlete, but she cannot satisfy her community with her hair while getting a gold medalist. You got to get your hair's got to be right. And you got in the gold medal, you got to win both. You got to win over the Black folks, and you got to win that gold medal at the same time. And I appreciate her for doing what you need to do. Win the medal. Worry about your hair later. But am I going to sit here and say that I haven't been concerned about my hair? Yes, I have been. And, but I wasn't a world-class gymnast either. I wasn't. So, but it's like I said, these are the kinds of toxicities that we do to ourselves. That's my bottom line. We create standards, but then we blame somebody else for the damage. But we're doing damage too. But it's okay if we damage ourselves. with our bipolar standards, or with our to me our liberal learned standards. I mean, I've never heard anybody get fired or get kicked out of a job because their hair was natural or it wasn't straight up. Because if you're going to go there, I think if you talk about the natural hair, then how far is natural? What degree of natural? There's some degrees of natural. I'm not a hairstylist, but even if we chemically straighten our hair starts to revert back to the natural. And you can see that. You can see the duality, for the lack of a better word, going on. You can see the conflict going on. You can see that happening. And so I don't know, maybe I'm breaking the code right now, ladies, if you're a community person, if you're a person in the stream right now. But you know what? There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide. We're all guilty of conforming to some kind of standard, but being fired, I would think you would just sue them and you would just handle it that way, right? So there we go. Not a revolution. You just sue them, right the wrong, but not start a revolution, right? Or not legislate it. I think that was a bit much. The Crown Act. We're full circle right now. We started out talking about hair, and I didn't even share the story, didn't even share the footage on the Crown Act and what the We Form's getting involved too. I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. The We Form wants to get involved, not just California, but the We Form wants to get involved with natural hair, and I say no thanks. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. So I'm going to go through and say hello to everybody, and thank you guys so much for tuning in on this segment. And yeah. All right. So awesome, Alice. Thank you so much for coming in. I went back a little bit, but I'll catch up with you guys. Alien Believers, thank you so much for coming in. And thank you guys so much for those of you who were able to feed the AI on this stream. Thank you so much to Rachel Van Ziel, thank you so much for all that you do. And Omonpri, George Kitchen, thank you so much for coming in. Haven't seen you in a long time. And Joseph Francis Burton, thank you so much for coming in and supporting the channel the way that you do. Thank you so much. And Paralysis by Analysis, thank you so much for coming in. It's been a long time since we've seen you around here. And we were going to put out an APB. Put the APBs out every now and then. Steve Willis, thank you so much for coming in. Sharing your wisdom with us, as well as Zero, the Infinite. Thank you so much. And Leaf Desi, thank you so much for coming in. And I'm going to run a couple of infomercials before we close this one out, but we're close to closing it out on your Wednesday. I mean, together we are on Wednesday, February 17th. I appreciate it. I'm going to read this comment really quickly, and then I'm going to go to a break, and I'll come right back. All right. And Rachel says, I used to tick church people off by wearing all black. Weird, what makes people cringe. And then this one really quick on the hair. Old Head Deuce says back to the 70s hairstyles, I suspect. All right, guys. So I'll be right back. And I want to give a shout out to those that are viewing us from Twitch, Periscope, here on the main brain. But still the main brain. YouTube. And we'll be right back. This show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health,
culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, or music, there's something for everyone. So please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Joseph Francis Burton, Paralysis by Analysis, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back, right after this.
All right, I know just what to play to get you guys going all the way. Get you guys going all the way to the end around here. All right, so I want to thank you guys so much again on the final comments. And we're going to get out of here. Yeah, this is a great point. Rachel Van Thiel. So a woman that has short hair gets called butch. That's not fair, right? We're talking about equality, right? And Kimon Reed says, my day's going good. That's good to hear. Kimon, are you in Canada? I know I tend to ask this question all the time, but I maybe it's not you, it's somebody else I'm asking the same thing. And Rachel says, I like making people question their beliefs. And Awesome Alice says, hope everyone's having a blessed filled day. And oops. All right, Awesome Alice says, at least they did try to put you the Sunday school class and you were 30. I took my friend's kids to church and they okay young lady time for school. Okay, all right, guys. Well, I'm glad you guys are having. Yes, you are from Canada. Very nice. I haven't been to Canada in like 10 years. But you know what? Maybe I should take that back. No, that's wrong. I was in Canada. I've been to Canada in less than 20 years. But it's been like 6 years. Close enough. But it's been a long time. And Old Head says the beauty standards are subject to ridicule. Yeah, but the thing about it is the origin of those standards. Can we really put those standards on? Are they all European standards? I'm not sure. I mean, I would say maybe quite a bit, but but where did they get their standards from? I said this at the beginning. We all want the opposite of what we have naturally. We all want something, okay, even if it's just occasionally. You want some texture to your hair. You want a pattern to your hair. You don't want straight all the time, or you might not want curls all the time. So I don't think that's wrong, that you might want to change, or you might want something that you don't have. And let me put this in here. Zero to Infinite says equality. But I've never heard of that before. And Kimon Reed says, well, Autumn, the Canadian I see like your... Well, thanks, Kimon Reed. Thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it. And Old Head Dude says, Miss Universe won't be coming back to the U.S. for some time. And Austin Alice says, we need hair freedom. Tell us about that, Awesome Alice. I really appreciate you guys so much. And we are going to call it a Wednesday. Like I said, well, we will call it a Wednesday unless something comes up like later or something. I'm around. And I appreciate you guys. And I look forward to, Rachel says, shave hair freedom. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next live stream in a comment section or on a video or even, those random tests that I tend to do. And, who knows, I might do, I don't know, I might do a BHM dig every now and then. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I want to thank you guys again and have a great rest of your Wednesday.